Well, they were pushing me. They said, you've got to start a nonprofit. Forget about this paper idea.
Right.
And so I get the Dummy series, Nonprofit for Dummies book. The black. Black
Yeah, the yellow. Yeah.
And I go through the page by page, and then there were two people who were on the mission trip with me that I asked them to be board members, and my wife board member, and one of the couple advocates for Mariners Church who kind of liked where it was going, and I'm sure they maybe knew what was going to happen, and came back and thank you God. Now let's help them get to the next step. I don't know. This is all.
So you were like a pawn in all of this.
At this point, I started to realize that this is not a game that I have any control over. I just have to be an obedient servant. So I just kind of went with the flow, and and there's probably 15 things that I could explain to you that you'd say that's a coincidence. Oh, that's another coincidence. Oh yeah, there's a third.
All these synchronicities came.
Pretty soon you start realizing that there's more going on than you could explain by coincidences, and that's kind of how the first year went. We found a manufacturer of wheelchairs in China in a week. People take sometimes years to find somebody that manufacture in China. And
they manufactured wheelchairs or just the bicycle tires?
I sent them one in the 96. And
they could do it.
They cloned it, yeah.
They cloned it. What resources would you say were the hardest to come by to get Free Wheelchair Mission off the ground, so to speak?
Well, we were going through savings because they didn't work for over 4 months. And also our daughter still, residential treatment programs. So
this is all coinciding.
These are all going, so
wow.
This is expensive. And then my wife's, after staying home with our other two daughters and raising them, decided, I've been at home for 14 years, I'll go back to work. Thinking it was going to take a long time to get that job for Social Security, which is where she was working and was very high up in the administration when we were in Boston. Within 3 days had a job. Starting off as a claims rep, which is where she started when she got out of college the first day. It's kind of humiliating, right?
Going back to square one.
40 years and being high up in the organization to start off with. But she it was a job, right? She said, now it's my turn to support the family. You can see what you can do with this nonprofit. So that allowed us to.
How much time did that buy you?
Well, she's still working now. And it's still helping us out a lot. It was a few years before I got a salary and I didn't want a salary from Free Wheelchair Mission because it didn't seem right to take a salary. They were just trying to get something started and improve it.
So she supported the family while you built this organization.
And then there were all kinds of challenges about who wants a full container of 550 wheelchairs? I want 30 of them at most. I can't send you 30 because it's going to cost us more than if we send you 550. And that was really hard to get people that can, because they've never had that many wheelchairs. They didn't know personally how many people needed them. And that took a few years to work through. Our Skip Landfrey, the man I told you from Mariners, who was the pastor, he had the wisdom of, you got to create a website. I had a website just to describe, mainly it's more like nowadays it's a blog so you can talk about what you're doing.
What year is this now, do you think, roughly?
This is 2001, 2002, and it would put on a website the fact that you have wheelchairs available. And pretty soon rumors started to spread that we had them, and some of the other organizations that I interviewed that we're giving out wheelchairs, they're always being asked for more, and they'd say, well, I heard about this group, they call it Free Wheelchair Mission, why don't you call them? So one of the first people that called was our dear partner in Peru now, who we still have, and they call up and say, could we get a container of wheelchairs? I couldn't believe it. Somebody wants a full container of wheelchairs.
Was that the first container that was
that went? Actually, the 96 that others 96 that were left of the 100, we sent 43 of them to whatever the number is, half of that to Angola, and the other half to India. And both groups, having seen them, wanted more. So we had two potential sources there, and then the one that came in from Lima, Peru.
Did you have any idea in 2001 that your entire life would revolve around this mission, that it would grow into?
Of course not.
How long did you figure this thing would last, even that you would be involved in this? before going back to work and getting a real job. Yeah.
I don't even think about that today. It's just sort of kind of giving up, surrender. It makes our board very insecure sometimes when they can tell I'm almost irresponsible when it comes to long-term plans. I'll nod and keep my eyes open like I learned in
like you did in church as a kid.
But
so you're kind of along for the ride.
What you guys don't understand is we have absolutely no control over what's going on. I mean, our donors, they're sick. They don't donate money. They may pass away. They may move. How can we plan on what's going to happen?
I mean, this sounds very stressful, that to be in that role, especially being like the president of a nonprofit where you're counting on funds and you're counting on, and as you put it, you have no control. Similar to with when you dropped your daughter off and realized you had no control over her health and her well-being in terms of her needing to want the help and agree to it. Would you say there was a similar feeling of sort of surrender, or that this isn't?
Well, there's no stress involved at all if you surrender. You're stress-free. It's like whatever happens is going to.
So you're okay with it, and that's how you deflect it.
I can second guess myself if I don't think I did a very good job, and therefore something isn't happening, because God has you learn various ways. That's one way you learn. God lets you make mistakes. But other than that, I mean, and I try really hard to have the staff, accept the fact that we're not in control. You can't feel like this success is yours, and you shouldn't feel this if there is a failure, and we've had them, that this failure is yours either. You have to be just an obedient servant. Take what comes. It takes a team of people that kind of. I mean, I look at, I kind of came up with this idea, but it would have died had it not been for people all along the way. Not just the board, but that they really count the board in a big way for their value. But it's just the pastors, the missionaries, the family going along with it. It's just sort of like.
Were they on board from the beginning, or were they?
No, the board was, of course.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of bringing people into an idea, wild and crazy idea. We can do this. What do we have to lose? We have a lot to gain, and there's so many things that people in developing countries need. There's so many things that people in our own country need. That I know it's really hard to cut loose. And give up a career. I mean, I was in school till I was 29, learning to be an expert at something, but and I sort of missed not being an expert in those areas, like anymore, because I'm not. But it was. So all that I explained, and plus just God, let me hear what you want, and I don't get a voice. I don't get a voice from God, but what I do hear is people. What I do see is people that He brings in my life that are, necessary, important, open, and you just got to be open-minded to what's going on here. And I think there's like you say, there's so many opportunities for people that, but it's a big jump to make. That to go out and faith, and you wind up giving up a lot of stuff, but you don't miss any of it.
What would you say has surprised you the most in the approximately 13 years since Free Wheelchair Mission's inception? What things just kind of blow your mind most about how this has taken off, or how it's been orchestrated in ways that you could never have conceived yourself?
Well, I think one thing that's very remarkable, and we had a room of very intelligent, very motivated, strong Christian people that kind of come together in 2001 and draft our mission statement, as well as our whole strategy and strategic plan. And we crafted this mission statement, which we still have today, and it says provide the transforming gift of mobility. But for the first 12 or 11 years, we only thought about wheelchairs. And then just in the last few years, we've thought, no, first of all, it's canes, crutches, and walkers. And then it was like artificial diapers. Adult diapers. How can that advance mobility? Well, then, we meet this girl in Chile that says, I can go out, it's 24, I got 24 in this box. I can go out 24 times. What was holding her from being mobile was not a lack of a wheelchair, which we gave her. It was the fact that she can't control her body, and she just can't be that embarrassed. She just will not let herself go out in public. And then from there, all of a sudden we start thinking, what's the next level we can go to? And we realized that there's a lot of hospitals that could perform more surgeries if they had equipment, they had supplies. Oh, that's interesting. Well, where do you get the supplies? Well, it took about a year to sort all this out. We figured out where we can get the supplies very inexpensively here in this country and ship them to these hospitals. And so now we're out actually, and the surgeons are going out in the distributions and they're identifying people that, yeah, you really need a wheelchair because you can't walk, but with an operation, you wouldn't need a wheelchair. And we can do this almost the same cost as it costs to give somebody a wheelchair. We can get them what they need as far as supplies so they can get that surgery for free. So what really amazes me is how far we can take this transformation of mobility idea into new areas. So, I mean, what is amazing, I wouldn't say blows my mind, but what is amazing is how God is taking this simple thing of a mobility in a wheelchair, a plastic chair with mountain bike tires, and moving it step by step further back into the needs to give people what they deserve.